Donald Trump is now actively going after Bitcoin critics. It's just crazy what's happening here. President Trump calls Peter Schiff, who keeps attacking Bitcoin, an idiot. And Peter Schiff fires back and now wants to challenge Donald Trump to a debate. At the same time, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is posting memes announcing that he's going to print more money than maybe ever before in US history. People are now speculating about the return of QE. We also have the latest assessments from Jordy Wisser on the current market movement. Right now, the mood is really dead. It's not exactly full-blown panic, but people are losing interest. People are heading out now, people are doing other things. Bitcoin isn't really on the agenda anymore. We're looking around at other things, but you should definitely keep an eye on what's happening in the background here, because it's really huge. But before we dive in, take a quick second and smash the like button below for higher Bitcoin prices and new all-time highs. As a thank you, I'll show you my melons, my papayas, tomatoes, cucumbers, melon, papaya. Let's go. And while everyone is waiting for the next big price move, something massive is happening in the background. Right here. Scott Bessent from the Treasury Department. And like I said, he's one of the most important people in the US financial world. The US Treasury Secretary has just released this. And the White House economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, is about to become the chairman of the US Federal Reserve. 2026 could turn out to be a really crazy year, writes the co-bicilliter here. What we're seeing here is a turtle buying US treasuries, and up here it says MAGA. And the question now is, how should we interpret all of this? Most people assume that the US will continue to buy massive amounts of government bonds. The Treasury will also step in if necessary to buy even more government bonds. Do you know what that means? Massive expansion of the money supply. That's nothing other than QE. Maybe a bit different because it's not being bought directly by the central bank, but here by the US Treasury. But as we know, Kevin Hassett will very likely take over the central bank. So you can also expect the central bank itself here to buy these treasuries. That would be one of the biggest price drivers for Bitcoin if QE were to make a comeback here. Below, this post is now being quoted, showing that most government bonds are always bought during the Trump era. The only question is whether the market will buy it or whether the Treasury or the central bank will have to step in and buy these government bonds. If the market buys them, that's great. But it's very, very likely that it will end up with the Treasury or the central bank buying these government bonds that nobody wants anymore on the open market. And what happens then? The money supply increases. What happens then? Here, risk assets will go up. And that's why people have now changed this meme and said, hey, not here. The turtle isn't buying treasuries here, but the turtle is stealing here. US treasuries because it's simply equated with a loss of purchasing power, as you can see here. That means if they just basically print money to buy treasuries, then your purchasing power is being taken away. Of course, that's a huge scandal. We also have a direct statement here from Scott Bessent about why 2026 could be massive for Bitcoin as well.
And you came in, immigration, I called it the three I's, immigration, interest rates, and inflation, that were killing the American people. Close the border, the promise kept. Interest rates are down, and 10-year bond, again, best year since 2020, and inflation led by energy prices is going to roll next year. I think it's going to be a fantastic year. We can look back, be very proud of this year, but I think 2026 is going to be great for the American people. Thanks.
Inflation's going down, but the question is that really the case? Are interest rates really going down? So are the rates really going down? Are the inflation numbers really going down that far down?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because this quantitative easing, it's starting up again now. So since the 1st of December, we've been in this phase again in the US. The Federal Reserve had been reducing its balance sheet for over 3 years, from 9 trillion down to about 6.5 trillion in the end. Even though before the COVID crisis, it was at 4 to 4.5 trillion. But they've now abandoned that path. They're going to keep printing money. New money's being created. Of course, that's going to further fuel inflation in the US and worldwide. In this way, the US government will naturally continue to come under pressure as well. So all of this is meant to make the final phase of the current monetary system as unbearable and uncertain as possible for everyone, so that people will eventually accept the new monetary system.
The funny thing is, Donald Trump is saying exactly the same thing here. And now he's launching a direct attack on probably the biggest Bitcoin critic ever. There has probably never been such a hardcore Bitcoin critic. Check out what kind of statement Peter Schiff made here. And then let's see what Donald Trump has to say about this person.
Ever invented, or it's the most important invention since
Don't listen to the crypto kitty. He's leading you astray. Don't buy Bitcoin. If you have any Bitcoin, sell it all right now. Buy gold. Buy gold for sure. Buy gold, buy silver, buy something real. Get out of fiat into something real and tangible, thing that has value. Don't buy into a scam. Magic and giant money. Right? It's not even money. It's BS. When you buy Bitcoin, all you're doing is making the person who's selling it rich. Don't be a bag holder. Think, and, what you doing? Yeah. All right, get those in. All right.
it's hilarious.
So the thing is, he's really making a fool of himself here, you have to say. So he's saying here that Bitcoin is basically really, really bad. That's not money. That's BS. That's what he means. Bullshit. Bitcoin is absolute bullshit. Buy real assets. He's right about that, but Bitcoin is actually a real asset here. Peter Schiff just refuses to see that. And now, check this out. Of course, Donald Trump isn't going to just let that slide and fires back, saying this. Why would Fox and Friends Weekend, of all shows, invite a stockbroker named Peter Schiff, a Trump-hating loser who has already been proven wrong long ago? Either the show made a mistake, or they're heading in a different direction. Period. He thinks prices are going up, but they're actually dropping significantly. Yesterday, in some states, gas cost $1.99 per gallon, and it's dropped sharply since Biden took office. Other prices have also fallen almost everywhere. Biden caused the affordability crisis, and I will solve it, along with another one. A lot of it, like border security, has already been solved. Just look at who invited this idiot. So he's not directly criticizing Bitcoin policy here, but rather the inflation policy. Peter Schiff. He says here, Donald Trump is too excessive. He can't get inflation under control, and so on. And the thing is, honestly, Peter Schiff, no matter how much nonsense and crap he talks about Bitcoin, but here, you have to give him a point. He basically attacked Trump here and said, inflation is rising, blah, 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 Donald Trump doesn't have it under control. If we take a look, inflation really isn't under control, neither in the US nor in other countries. Of course, you can make the numbers look good. And of course, you can have a government shutdown and then just stop publishing any numbers. And then say, yay, we have great inflation or something like that to everyone. But you can feel it at the supermarket that prices are now much higher than maybe half a year or 3/4 of a year ago. Peter Schiff also says here, Trump claims I hate him because I told the truth about inflation. Obviously, he's not aware of how often I've supported his re-election and how I've defended him during Biden's presidency against unfair criticism and legal attacks. If he really wants to make America great again, or if he wants to make it great, I'm ready to help him with that. And now he says here, because Trump called him an idiot, he would like to meet him for a debate here. And he challenges them to a debate about the US economy and the effectiveness of his policies. If I'm as wrong as he claims, then let him prove it. Honestly, I actually think Peter Schiff has some pretty solid arguments here. Peter Schiff is actually a really good analyst too. The only thing is, when it comes to Bitcoin, he's just completely wrong. Or maybe it's actually a deliberate manipulation that he's pulling off here. Up front, he plays the Bitcoin critic, but behind the scenes, he's lining his own pockets. You saw it earlier in the clip too. Honestly, you can't really take some of this seriously, because Peter Schiff is definitely not a stupid guy. That's actually a point in Peter Schiff's favor here. If Donald Trump really meant what he said here, if he was serious about inflation and the US debt, then why did they shut down the Department of Government Efficiency? Why is it that even even Elon Musk apparently almost failed because of Donald Trump? Even Elon Musk eventually pulled the plug and realized there was no chance of getting the budget in order here. At the same time, Cynthia Loomis is making new announcements here, and she's responding to someone who asked, when is the Bitcoin Act 2024 finally coming? And this Bitcoin Act includes the purchase of 1 million Bitcoin. Cynthia Loomis replies, it's in the hopper, so it's in the works. It's underway. It's in process. And that's caused quite a stir here. You can see it, over 300,000 views. And now let's take a look at Jordi Visser's latest assessment on why the next stage of the adoption curve will look completely different from the last one. What he's saying is truly brilliant. Check this out.
I had a conversation with Michael Milken about 4 years ago out at his house in California. And we were talking about the dollar. And I was actually, it was more, it was before COVID. So this was 2019. It's important for the story because I was telling him, and we would do this occasionally. I think we had 2 conversations where we would debate, and I would share my views. He would share his, and I have very strong views on things that come with a lot of data, and he has a lot of strong views that come from data. But on the dollar theme, he convinced me instantaneously to stop thinking of the dollar a certain way, which is the way a lot of people with Bitcoin think about it. So his point was, Jordy, if we opened the borders tomorrow and gave everyone 1 day around the planet to come to America, we'd have a line of 7.5 billion people to come in. And the second he said it, I completely agree. Whatever people's views on immigration are, people want to come here. And they want to come here for a reason. And if you've lived overseas like I have in Brazil, it resonated with me. I think that is the way people think of Bitcoin to a degree, is the way we as Americans remember America as this place of freedom, this place to go where the government literally is not on top of you the way it was in my country. So Bitcoin is still going to be a place that people are going to go into. And I still think that 7.5 billion people on the planet will eventually be putting money in at a fast pace. Stable coins to me are going to accelerate that move in a very, very big way. And that's why I believe in the network effects for Bitcoin right now.
That's a really interesting comparison he's making here. He's simply saying everyone wants to go to the USA. If the USA were to open its borders tomorrow, there would be a couple of billion people who would immigrate to the USA. And he sees it similarly with Bitcoin. If people here really understand what Bitcoin is all about, and if, really, even here, if the curtain falls and people understand what fiat currencies are really about, then billions of people will want to pour into Bitcoin. It's definitely a very, very interesting comparison. Jody Whistler is also the one who made the IPO moment famous. With Bitcoin, it's basically that the OG whales are now selling their Bitcoin because there's enough liquidity, and this IPO moment is currently happening, which might still take a bit longer before the real price increases start. Once all the whales have sold their Bitcoin here, but we can see that these whale sales are already decreasing. And now I have a bet for you. Check this out. My buddy sent me this, showing what kind of bet he made here. Listen to it, and then let me know in the comments if you would have made the same bet. Or maybe not.
Hey, Mark, I have to tell you something. Just now, also with a business partner. When it comes to betting, I actually like to get back into it now and then. Bitcoin is leaving the weight room, so we can totally make a bet if you want. He says if he makes a bet, he sticks to it. So I made a bet that in the year 2033, Bitcoin will be over $500. He says it'll be under. He says it's going to be worthless. He says, okay, come on. Now, we've agreed January 2033, if the Bitcoin price is over $500, we'll eat in Modena at a fantastic restaurant, one of the best in Italy, with our wives, so the 4 of us will have dinner together. From now on, I'm only making these kinds of bets. That's the best part, you know? Then I'll write it down, and from now on, we could always, well, for you, it's a bit tricky since you can't eat everywhere. But it's a great idea, isn't it? Well, betting debts are debts of honor. But you know, it gets people to really engage with the topic and say, damn. Still, I started looking into it. People are totally against it, but come on, keep betting anyway. And then you'll see how Bitcoin develops now. I don't know if you've already had any experience with that, but it's a fun approach.
So write it down below for me. Do you think Bitcoin will be above or below $500 in 2033? Honestly, I would bet even all my papayas that Bitcoin will be above $500 in 2033. And if you want to buy Bitcoin now and help push the price above $500, then check out 21 Bitcoin. Here you can easily and always buy Bitcoin, and you can really save on fees too. With the code BitcoinDatai, you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. It's an absolute recommendation. I always get really great feedback about it. So feel free to check it out, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.